Your San Antonio housing market update for February 2024 starts right now. Welcome everyone. I hope you had a great Super Bowl Sunday. The Chiefs won, and now we're back to business. So before we get started with the San Antonio housing market, we're going to look at home price forecast and mortgage rate forecast for the rest of 2024. As you can see, we have two columns here. The original forecast that was produced in November of 2023 and the current forecast as of January, February. And as you can see, everyone has upgraded their predictions for home prices, and I attribute that to what the mortgage rates are doing. We'll see what they're doing here in a second. But this first column, original forecast, Goldman Sachs has upgraded significantly from 1.9 to 5%. Mortgage Bankers Association from 1.1% to 4.1%. Even all the way at the bottom here, National Association of Realtors, 0.7% all the way up to 1.9%. So across the board, everyone is predicting more home price appreciation in 2024. Moving over to mortgage rate projections, again in December of 2023, first quarter, the predictions came in at 7%, 6.8%, 6.6%, and 6.5%. Now in January, we're looking at new projections, 6.4%, 6.2% in the second quarter, 6% in the third quarter, and 5.8% in the fourth quarter. These predictions are coming on the assumption that the Fed is going to come through on their promise to cut the rates 3 times this year, and presumably by a quarter point. So they haven't done anything yet, but if you have been tuning in, you know that interest rates already started falling in the last few weeks. Now, they did go back up after Jerome Powell made some comments that he wasn't sure about a rate cut in March, which he never really promised any kind of rate cuts in March. Just the market has been hoping for rate cuts earlier in the year rather than later in the year. So it's going to happen if the economic data allows for it to happen. And that's coming from the Fed and Jerome Powell's office. They meet quarterly. So the next time they meet is going to be in March. And they're going to be keeping an eye on the economic data to see if a rate cut is appropriate, as long as inflation looks like it's in check and it's still coming down and not spiking in the markets. So we'll see how that goes. But I can tell you that looking at the San Antonio housing market report, the market is ready for those rate cuts, and it will react to the rate cuts. You'll see it reacting in the San Antonio housing market report coming up here next. Okay, now moving on to local home sales data here in San Antonio. We see that we're still technically in a seller's market. We're still moving enough homes to remain in a seller's market, even with the slower months of home sales in San Antonio during the winter, or historically slower home sales. We are looking at, we had 3.79 months worth of inventory. That is as of January 2024. That is a 0.8% month over month increase in inventory. So inventory did come up in the winter, not a whole lot, but it did come up. List to sold price percentage, 96.3%. So you're looking at about a 3.7% difference from list price to sold price. Days on market, homes are spending about 41 days on the market before they're sold. That is a 6.82% month over month decrease. So they started to sell faster in January by almost 7%. And the typical price sold came in at $270,000. So that is the typical sales price you saw in January. That is 8.16% month over month decrease. So the sales price came down from December to January. Okay, those were the final sales. Median estimated property value or home value. These came in at $293,100. So that is the typical home value that we're finding here in San Antonio. That is a 0.2% change in the positive direction month over month. So the values actually went up from December to January. And if we're looking at the 12-month change, this is a very important thing to look at because we're comparing what the home prices were back in January 2023 versus January 2024. And we still had 6.4% appreciation despite the huge increase in mortgage rates. 6.4%. Now, if you can imagine, if they did not increase the mortgage rates last year so dramatically, 11 times they increased the mortgage rates last year, and bringing them up way up to the 8% range, a little higher. We could easily be in the double digits here with appreciation in home values. So, but at 6.4%, still positive, and now interest rates have been coming down. That really bodes well for home price appreciation in 2024. So we'll see how that actually plays out, but that's where we're at now. New listings, homes for sale here in San Antonio. That, you know, anyone selling homes right now, this is what we're seeing with new listings. Median list price, their typical list price, is coming in at $289,999. That's really important because last year when I was talking with my lenders just to see what types of contracts are coming through the pipeline, they said, well, Krishna, anything with a 2 in front of it is doing very well still, and we're still seeing that happen. Anything over 3 tends to struggle. We'll see how that plays out in the data here in a moment. Number of properties sold, or number of properties that came in new listings, 2,318 properties. That's a 42.9% increase in new listings. Nice to see that some folks came in there to take advantage of the lower interest rates to get their home on the market and get it sold. And the median living area square footage, 1,703. So the word's getting out there that if you have a smaller home, that you have a great chance of getting a contract on it. Active listings. So this is something to compare and contrast with the last slide that we just went over. These are homes that have already been on the market for at least 10 days, and the pricing, you can see the difference. This one's priced at $309,950. There are 6,211 properties in that median price range, and the days on the market is 71 days. The median living area square footage is 1,851. Now this is a little bit lower than it has been for active listings, but you know, comparing what people, you know, some of the folks are putting on the market and what is sitting on the market. So this inventory is sitting a little bit longer than other inventory, and we'll see that in the numbers as we continue looking at this report. New pending listings. So these listings went under contract in January. They're pending, so they're done with their home inspection, and they are set to close. So new pending listings came in at $288,070. That's 2.2% less than the month before in December. And number of properties that were newly pending, 1,368. That's 8.4% increase in new pending listings. Days on market, 51 days was typical. And the living area square footage came in at $1,839. So folks were able to take advantage of some of those lower interest rates over the last few weeks and get under contract. And now they're pending. You can see the difference in the days on the market, these new pending listings versus the active listings on the market at 71 days. That's like almost a month. It's 20 days. And also the price. Remember, the price for those active listings that are still on the market, I mean, we're talking almost $15,000. It's a psychological thing to see a 2 instead of a 3 in a price, but every deal is different. But these are the numbers. Pending listings. So these listings were already under contract before January, and they continued through in January as pending listing, and their typical price came in at $296,999. Number of properties in pending status still 1,799. That's 29.5% month over month increase in the pending. So all this new action, all the new pending and the pending listings all coincide with the drop in interest rates that happened over the winter here. The median days on the market, or typical days, 45 days on the market. Again, lower than the active listings. The median living area square footage, 1,895 square feet. So some of these guys were actually able to purchase a slightly larger house than some of those newer listings. And then sold listings. These homes that were for sale that actually sold here in San Antonio came in with a typical price of $270,000 in January. That's an 8.2% decrease from the month before. We'll see how the February numbers play out since we saw those pending listings. Number of properties that were sold, 944. That's a 30% decrease month over month. The median days on market came in at 41 days on the market. So we had a lot of the lower price homes that finished up their transactions in January. And now to recap here, supply, we're looking at 3.79 months worth of supply. The change in appreciation or inventory came in at 0.8%. So we had a little bit more inventory to the market there in January. 12-month change, 39.9% of supply came onto the market in January. I'm sorry, over the 12-month period. January 2023 through January 2024, we're up 39.9%. So if you're a buyer, you've got 39% more inventory to look at this year in 2024, and you have a expectation that there's going to be lower interest rates, and we're in that now. We're going to see some bumps in the road as interest rates come down, just like we saw this past week. We've seen interest rates, though, in the long term over the last couple of months coming down, and then you'll see a spike. Interest rates will come back up on some news, something in the data about inflation. It may cause interest rates to go up, but overall, it looks like we are now in a long-term trend of interest rates coming down. If you found this video informative and helpful, don't forget to like, follow. If you have any questions, give me a shout at 210-260-6617, and I will see you on the next video.